When the lawyer finished reading the will and announced that all Michael Turner had inherited from his late Uncle Henry was 50 acres of remote, barren wasteland in northern Wyoming, most people in town laughed behind his back, whispering that the once decorated Army veteran had been played for a fool, that he had been left with nothing but useless dirt, wind, and rocks, while the rest of the family received money, antiques, and property worth something, and though Michael kept a calm face as he folded the paperwork and walked out into the parking lot with his loyal German shepherd, Scout, the laughter sliced deeper than he wanted to admit, because after returning home from years of service, after losing friends and pieces of himself to war, after healing scars that still stung on quiet nights, he had hoped for even a small blessing, a sign that his life could start turning upward, but instead, he was now the owner of land that everyone mocked as a desert plain unfit for farming, building, or living. He could already hear the jokes circulating. Michael inherited the middle of nowhere. Michael got stuck with 50 acres of misery. Michael can't catch a break. And though he tried to shrug them off, something in him felt bruised, heavy, and tired as if life kept testing him in ways no one else could see. Still, he decided to visit the land before judging it, loading Scout into his old pickup truck and driving north for hours until civilization thinned, the landscape changed, and the road turned into a rough dirt path cutting through rolling hills of scrub brush, fallen branches, and dry soil cracked under summer heat. The land looked abandoned, forgotten, even haunted by the silence of miles without homes. But as Michael stood there with the wind brushing his face and Scout sniffing the earth like a seasoned tracker, he sensed something strange beneath the emptiness. Something quiet, hidden, waiting. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that show hidden value in places others overlook, please comment, share, and subscribe to the channel to help these heartfelt stories reach more people. Michael spent days exploring the land on foot, mapping its edges, marking potential high points, and sitting alone on fallen logs while listening to the wind whisper through dry grass. And though it seemed worthless to others, he found an unexpected peace there, a peace he hadn't felt since before the war, when life was simpler and the world didn't feel so heavy. Scout stayed alert at all times, tail stiff, ears forward, nose constantly testing the air as if the land carried a scent only he could understand. But Michael had no plans, no dream for property yet. Only a growing curiosity about why Uncle Henry had chosen him. Him, the quiet nephew who drifted away after enlistment, the one who never asked for anything, the one who visited rarely because he felt too broken to bring his shadows into family gatherings. That question lingered with him every day as he returned to the land, sometimes repairing old fences, sometimes clearing brush, sometimes simply sitting with Scout while watching the skies stretch endlessly above them. The loneliness that once felt suffocating now softened under the warmth of shared silence with his dog, and the land slowly began to feel like a sanctuary, a place where he could breathe freely without judgment or noise. Still, something about the property nagged at him, a strange instinct he couldn't explain, and Scout's behavior only intensified that feeling as the dog kept pulling him toward the northern slope, a rocky area with thick brush and oddly stacked stones that looked unnatural, as if someone had once tried to camouflage something beneath them. One chilly morning, as fog hugged the ground and dew clung to the tips of grass, Scout suddenly bolted toward the slope, barking with urgency in a way Michael had never heard outside of military operations, and Michael felt his heart leap in his chest as he ran after him, stumbling over roots and loose gravel until he reached the rocks where Scout was digging violently, paws striking stone, nose buried in the dirt, growling softly as if he had discovered something not meant to stay hidden. Michael dropped to his knees and began helping, pulling away rocks, tearing out brush, and clearing decades of debris until his hands ached and the earth beneath them gave way to something metallic, something large, smooth, and unmistakably man-made. His breath caught as he wiped away dirt, revealing a steel hatch seal with heavy rusted chains and an old combination lock weathered by time. A shiver ran through him as realization crept in. This wasn't a random piece of metal. This was an entrance. Scout whimpered, nudging the hatch as if urging Michael to continue. With shaking hands, Michael cut through the rusted chains using a bolt cutter from his truck, wiped the dust from the lock plate, and pulled upward, the hinges groaning like a long-buried secret awakening from decades of silence. The hatch opened into darkness, cold air rising from below, carrying the unmistakable smell of old machines, sealed air, and forgotten years. Michael grabbed his flashlight, took a deep breath, whispered a quiet prayer, and descended the metal steps with Scout close behind him, paws clicking softly on each step as they entered the underground world. The beam of light cut through the darkness and revealed a massive bunker that stretched farther than he could see, its walls lined with shelves, crates, and filing cabinets, all perfectly preserved in the cool temperature. Dust covered everything like a thick blanket, but nothing was destroyed. Everything had been protected from time. Michael walked slowly, breath quickening as he saw tools, sealed food supplies, rolled blueprints, fuel tanks, communication equipment, and boxes marked with dates from the 1960s and 70s. It felt like stepping into a frozen moment in history, a piece of the Cold War untouched beneath 50 acres of wilderness. But the most shocking discovery lay deeper inside, a large desk covered with maps, documents, and notebooks all labeled with Uncle Henry's name, revealing that he had once been involved in military engineering and off-the-record government projects. Some of the family never knew. Michael spread out the papers, scanning each page with widening eyes, realizing the bunker wasn't just a shelter. It was an experimental research site storing valuable technology, historical records, land surveys, and even classified documents now eligible for release and worth millions to historical institutions, museums, and government archives. His hand shook as he opened a locked box containing rare gold coins, original government-issued bonds, and early prototype designs for engines no one in the family ever knew Henry worked on. This wasn't Wasteland. This wasn't worthless land. It was a hidden vault of history, and Michael was the only rightful heir. The truth hit him with overwhelming force. His uncle hadn't abandoned him or insulted him by leaving him land that appeared useless. He had entrusted him with the one thing he couldn't leave to anyone else, a secret he had protected his entire life, a legacy bigger than money, and a message that perhaps he had always believed Michael would be the one person strong enough, honorable enough, and humble enough to handle responsibly. Tears filled Michael's eyes as he sank onto a metal chair, Scout resting his head on Michael's lap, offering silent comfort as the man processed the immense weight of what he discovered. For years, Michael had felt overlooked, forgotten, even discarded by the world. Yet here he sat in the middle of a hidden treasure, chosen, trusted, and valued in ways he never imagined. The bunker was worth tens of millions, possibly more when factoring in historical significance, gold, bonds, and technology. But Michael didn't see just the wealth. He saw purpose. He saw redemption. He saw a chance to turn inherited isolation into something powerful and meaningful. Over the next weeks, he contacted historians, military experts, and legal teams to authenticate everything, and soon the world knew the truth. Michael Turner had uncovered one of the most important privately held Cold War bunkers in American history. Journalists wanted interviews, museums wanted access, and universities wanted research rights, but Michael kept tight control to ensure everything was handled with integrity, not greed. He preserved the bunker exactly as Henry left it and had it designated as a protected historic site. With part of the funds acquired from bonds and coins, he built a veteran recovery lodge on the surface of the land, a quiet healing retreat for soldiers struggling like he once did, offering therapy, nature programs, job training, and a place where no one felt alone or judged. He hired staff, expanded trails, built cabins, and created a sanctuary where silence wasn't frightening. It was restorative. People who once mocked him now admired him, and the same relatives who laughed at his inheritance now stood in awe as they toured the land transformed by purpose, faith, and resilience. Before we reach the final emotional closing, if this story touched your heart in any way, please comment, share, and subscribe so these meaningful stories can continue to grow and reach others. And just before the ending, please comment below which moment of the story you felt the deepest connection with, because your words truly help shape the stories we create. As winter settled over the Wyoming hills and snow blanketed the land that once looked empty and worthless, Michael stood at the cabin porch of the veteran lodge, Scout sitting faithfully beside him, both gazing across the 50 acres now filled with life, healing, and hope. In the glow of the setting sun, he whispered a quiet thank you to Uncle Henry, realizing that sometimes God hides blessings inside places others laugh at, giving them only to those willing to look deeper, trust their instincts, and follow the loyal companion who leads them straight to the truth.